Hi there. It's November the 4th, and we are on day 309 of our Through the Bible in 1 year. Today we are reading Matthew 23 and Luke 20 and 21. Okay? So 3 chapters today. Right? And then we cover the same stories too. So. Religious hypocrites denounced. Okay? Then Jesus spoke to the crowds and to his disciples. The scribes and Pharisees are seated in the chair of Moses. Therefore, do whatever they tell you and observe it. But don't do what they do, because they don't practice what they teach. They tie up heavy loads that are hard to carry and put them on people's shoulders, but they themselves aren't willing to lift a finger to move them. They do everything to be observed by others. They enlarge their thigh clip. What is that? Small leather boxes containing OT text worn by Jews on their arms and foreheads. Yeah, they enlarge those things and lengthen their tassels. They love the place of honor at banquets, the front seats in the synagogues, greetings in the marketplaces, and to be called rabbi by people. But as for you, do not be called rabbi, because you have one teacher, and you are all brothers. Do not call anyone on earth your father, because you have one Father who is in heaven. You got that? And you think of somebody who calls all their priests fathers? Jesus said it. Hey, you have only one Father, a Father who is in heaven. And do not be called masters either, because you have one Master, the Messiah. That's him. The greatest among you will be your servant. Whoever exalts himself will be humbled, and whoever humbles himself will be exalted. Right? I've been saying that in Proverbs studies every day for over 1.5 years now. But woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! You lock up the kingdom of heaven from people, for you don't go in, and you don't allow these entering to go in. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! You devour widows' houses and make long prayers just for show. This is why you will receive a harsher punishment. Got that? Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees! You travel over land and sea to make one proselyte. Huh? And when he becomes one, you make him twice as fit for hell as you are. Wow. Woe to you, blind guides, who say whoever takes an oath by the sanctuary, it means nothing, but whoever takes an oath by the gold of the sanctuary is bound by his oath. Blind fools! For which is greater, the gold of the sanctuary, or the sanctuary that sanctified the gold? Also, whoever takes an oath by the altar, it means nothing, but whoever takes an oath by the gift that is on it is bound by itself. Blind people! For which is greater, the gift or the altar that sanctifies it? Therefore, the one who takes an oath by the altar takes an oath by it and everything on it. The one who takes an oath by the sanctuary takes an oath by it and by him who dwells in it. And the one who takes an oath by heaven takes an oath by God's throne, for by him who sits on it, and by him who sits on it. Right? Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! You pay a tenth of mint, dill, and cumin, yet you have neglected the more important matters of the law: justice, mercy, and faith. These things should have been done without neglecting the others. Blind guides, you strain out a gnat, yet you gulp down a camel. Wow. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! You clean the outside of the cup and dish, but inside they are full of greed and self-indulgence. Blind Pharisee, first clean the inside of the cup, so the outside of it may also become clean. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! You are all like whitewashed tombs, which appear beautiful on the outside, but inside are full of dead men's bones and every impurity. In the same way, on the outside you seem righteous to people, but inside you are full of hypocrisy and lawlessness. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! We says that a lot, huh? You build the tombs of the prophets and decorate the monuments of the righteous. And you say, if we had lived in the days of our fathers, we wouldn't have taken part with them and shedding the prophet's blood. You therefore testify against yourselves that you are sons of those who murdered the prophets. Fill up, then, the measure of your father's sins. Snakes, brood of vipers. How can you escape being condemned to hell? This is why I'm sending you prophets, sages, and scribes. Some of them will kill and crucify, and some of them will flog in your synagogues and hound from town to town, so all the righteous blood shed on the earth will be charged to you. From the blood of the righteous Abel to the blood of Zachariah, son of Berechiah, whom you murdered between the sanctuary and the altar, I assure you all of these things will come on this generation. Jesus' lament over Jerusalem. Jerusalem, Jerusalem, she who kills the prophets and stones those who are sent to her. How often I wanted to gather your children together as a hen gathers her chicks under her wings, yet you are not willing. See, your house is left to you desolate. For I tell you, you will never see me again until you say, he who comes in the name of the Lord is the blessed one. Wow. Okay, that was pretty. Yeah, wow. That was quite a chapter, wasn't it? Okay, Luke 20 and 20. One day as he was teaching the people in the temple complex and proclaiming the good news, the chief priests and the scribes with the elders came up and said to him, tell us by what authority are you doing these things? Who is it that gave you this authority? He answered them, I will ask you a question. Tell me, was the baptism of John from heaven or from men? They discussed it among themselves. But if you say from heaven, he will say, why didn't you believe him? But if you say from men, all the people will stone us because they are convinced that John was a prophet. So they answered that they did not know its origin. And Jesus said to them, neither will I tell you by what authority I do these things. And we read this yesterday and the day before, I think, in the other Gospels. Parable of the vineyard owner. We read this yesterday too. Then he began to tell the people this parable. A man planted a vineyard, leased it to tenant farmers, and went away for a long time. At harvest time, he sent a slave to the farmers so that they might give him some of the fruit from the vineyard. But the farmers beat him and sent him away empty-handed. He sent yet another slave, but they beat that one too and treated him shamefully and sent him away empty-handed. He sent yet a third, but they wounded this one and threw him out. They said they killed him in the other 2 times we read this, huh? Then the owner of the vineyard said, what should I do? I will send my beloved son. Perhaps they will respect him. But when the tenant farmers saw him, they discussed it amongst themselves and said, this is the heir, let's kill him, so the inheritance will be ours. So they threw him out of the vineyard and killed him. Therefore, what will that owner do to the vineyard do to them? He will come and destroy those farmers and give the vineyard to others. But when they heard this, they said, no, never. But he looked at them and said, then what is the meaning of this scripture? The stone the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. Okay, this is a story about Pharisees and Jesus, and he was telling it right in front of the Pharisees, okay? God sent his only son, and the Pharisees killed him, right? Thinking they would keep their high positions. Stone the builders rejected. This has become the cornerstone. Jesus is the cornerstone now, right? Everyone who falls on that stone will be broken to pieces, and if it falls on anyone, it will grind them into powder. Wow. Then the scribes and chief Pharisees looked for a way to get their hands on him that very hour, because they knew he had told this parable against them, but they feared the people. See, I told you. God and Caesar. We read this 2 other times too, right? They watched closely and sent spies who pretended to be righteous so they could catch him in what he said, to hand him over to the governor's rule and authority. They questioned him, teacher, we know that you speak and teach correctly and that you don't show partiality, but teach truthfully the way of God. Is it lawful for us to pay taxes to Caesar or not? But detecting their craftiness, he knows these people, said to them, show me denarius. Whose images and inscription does it have? Caesar's. He said, well then, he said, give back to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God's. They were not able to catch him in what he said in public, and being amazed at his answer, they became silent. Right? The Sadducees and the resurrection. Some of the Sadducees who say there is no resurrection, remember this from yesterday, came up and questioned, teacher, Moses wrote us that if a man's brother's wife dies and childless, the brother should take the wife and produce offspring for his brother. Now there were 7 brothers. The first took a wife and died without children. Also the second and the third took her in the same way. All 7 died and left no children. Finally the woman died too. In the resurrection, therefore, whose wife will the woman be? For all 7 had married her. And you have to remember, the Sadducees don't believe in the resurrection. They believe you get life, and when you die, it's over. Okay? Don't know where they got that idea. Jesus told them, the sons of this age marry and are given in marriage, but those who are counted worthy to take part in that age and in the resurrection from the dead, neither marry, nor are given in marriage, for they cannot die anymore, because they are like the angels and are sons of God, since they are the sons of the resurrection. Moses even indicated in the passage about the burning bush that the dead are raised, where he calls the Lord the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. Right? They were already dead, so they were resurrected. Right? He is not the God of the dead, but of the living, because all are living to him. Right? Even though you're dead, you're still alive to God. Some of the scribes answered, "Teacher, you have spoken well, and they no longer dared to ask him anything." The question about the Messiah. Then he said to them, how can they say the Messiah? Then he said to them, this is Jesus, how can they say that Messiah is the son of David? For David himself says in the book of Psalms, the Lord declared to my Lord, sit at my right hand until I make your enemies your footstool. David calls him Lord. How then can the Messiah be his son? The son of David was a popular term they used for him, but he said, David called me Lord, and you never call your son Lord, okay? Warning against the scribes. While other people were listening, he said to his disciples, beware of the scribes who want to go around in long robes and who love greetings in the marketplaces, the front seats in the synagogues, and the places of honor at banquets. They devour widows' houses and say long prayers just for show. They will receive greater punishment. Now, this is a very condensed version of what John said in the chapter just previous, right? The widow's gift we saw this yesterday, too, in the other books. He looked up and saw the rich dropping their offerings in the temple treasury. He also saw a poor widow dropping in 2 tiny coins. I tell you the truth, he said, this poor widow has put in more than all of them, for all these people have put in gifts out of their surplus, but she, out of her poverty, has put in all she had to live on. And God will bless her richly, right? Destruction of the temple predicted. Now, some were walking about the temple complex and how it was adorned and how beautiful the stones and gifts dedicated to God. And said, these things that you see, the days will come when not one stone will be left upon another, and that will not be thrown down. Teacher, they asked him, so when will these things be? And what will the sign be when these things are about to take place? Now, pay very close attention to this part, okay? We're living in these times right now. And he said, watch out, you are not deceived, for many will come in my name, saying, I am he, and the time is near. Don't follow them. When you hear of wars and rebellions, don't be alarmed. Indeed, these things must take place first, but the end won't come right away. And he told them, nation will be raised up against nation, kingdom against kingdom. There will be violent earthquakes and famines and plagues in various places. And there will be terrifying sights and great signs from heaven. But before all these things, they will lay their hands on you and persecute you. They will hand you over to the synagogues and prisons, and you will be brought before kings and governors because of my name. It will lead you to an opportunity for you to witness. Therefore, make up your minds not to prepare your defense ahead of time, for I will give you such words and a wisdom that none of your adversaries will be able to resist or contradict. Yeah. You will even be betrayed by parents, brothers, relatives, and friends. They will kill some of you. You will be hated by everyone because of my name, but not a hair on your head will be lost. By your endurance, gain your lives. Right? The destruction of Jerusalem. When you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, then recognize that its desolation has come near. Right? Then those in Judea must flee to the mountains. Those inside the city must leave it, and those who are in the country must not enter it. Because these are the days of vengeance, to fulfill all the things that are written. Woe to the pregnant women and nursing mothers in those days, for there will be a great distress in the land, a wrath against his people. They will fall by the edge of the sword and be led captive into all the nations, and Jerusalem will be trampled by the Gentiles. I'll have to look that up. And you're going to do that and screw me over, aren't you? Or nations, other nations, or 24. Until the times of the Gentiles are fulfilled. Coming the Son, man, there will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars, and there will be anguish on the earth among nations, bewildered by the roaring seas and waves. All these floods going on now, everywhere. People will be faint from fear and expectation of the things that are coming on the world, because the celestial powers will be shaken. Then they will see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. That's what we're waiting for. But when these things begin to take place, stand up and lift up your heads, because your redemption is near. All these things are happening now, okay? These things are happening right now. So look up. Your redemption is near. Parable of the fig tree. Then he told them a parable. Look at the fig tree and all the trees. As soon as they put out leaves, you can see for yourselves and recognize that summer is already near. In the same way you see these things happening, you recognize that the kingdom of God is near. All right? All these things we just talked about. I assure you, this generation will certainly not pass away until all these things take place. Okay? Now it's not that particular generation. That word means something else. Okay? Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will never pass away. Okay. Be on your guard. Be on your guard so that your minds will not be dulled from carousing, drunkenness, and worries of life. Or that day will come on you unexpectedly like a trap, for it will come on all who live on the face of the whole earth. Be alert at all times, praying that you may have strength to escape all these things that are going to take place and stand before the Son of Man. During the day, he was teaching in the temple complex, but in the evening he will go out and spend the night on what is called the Mount of Olives. Then all the people would come early in the morning to hear him in the temple complex. All right. Okay. So that was 21. Okay. So there you go. Some words for today, right? So, and tomorrow is just Mark 13 all by itself. Okay, and that's a very short. Tomorrow will be very short. So there you have it. Lots of good stuff in it today. Lots of evidence that Jesus knew exactly what was going to happen, when it was going to happen, and we should be ready. Okay, all the stuff he talked about is happening right now. Right? Israel is surrounded by the enemy. Earthquakes, famine, floods. Okay, it's all there. All the signs are there. So be ready. Look up. Okay? There you go. Interesting, huh? Right now. So, there you go. That was day 309. All right. Catch up on any man missed. The New Testament started on September 30th. So, and we've been doing this all year, and we'll do it all year and finish the entire Bible, cover to cover, at the end of the year. So, there you go. Tomorrow we'll keep going. See you then.